I could actually shut the window if that would make life better. Probably better for the.
So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for watching. We have a new guest today. So, I would like to introduce you guys to a good friend of mine, Ben Fridja from Fridja.com. As you probably realize, that's his personal brand. What makes him so special? It's someone who built company. I'm gonna say himself from idea, from everything through the years, went through the different stages in the business, but still, as far as I'm aware of, he's the solar entrepreneur. And I think this is the journey that we want to talk about today. Ben, welcome to our e-commerce camp live talk.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it.
So I think just to start, I mean, obviously I know a little bit more about you than the rest people who will be watching this video. Do you mind just to do a quick introduction about like how this is all started, how this idea came into the real product, what was behind, what motivates you to start, or maybe, you know, I don't know, like it's better to say like my wife was my
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I'll try and break down. It's been 15 years now since I started the company, which is quite a milestone in May. So obviously I can't go month by month, but I'll tell you from the beginning, 15 years ago when I started, and even just before that. So my background, funnily enough, so when I was younger, my father had a stall on a market stall, which was very, rough and ready. It was, as you'd expect, waking up in the very early morning, every single Sunday morning. This was my weekend, every single weekend. And I thought that was normal. All my friends would be like, Sunday's the lazy day. Sunday we go to church. Well, Sunday was my market day. So I'd get up and, clean the bars, and I'd, put all the stock out and label it all and, present it all, and then sell, and learn how to sell on this market stall, and speak to people from all over the world. So it was Wembley Market, which is in northwest London, and it was just in front of the Wembley Twin Towers back then. It was a very, very big market, lots of people from all over the world. And this is another part of my upbringing, which a lot of my friends didn't have. They didn't speak to people from all these different countries and all these far and exotic places. Like when you go to a normal school, you just speak to your friends and your friends' parents, and you live a more homogenous life. And I felt like I met a lot of people through then. And that upbringing, even though I thought that was very normal and that everybody sort of got that was sort of what were the building blocks for my company. And we used to sell electronics. So we'd sell, back then the hot things were like DVD players and Freeview boxes and televisions and hi-fis and cameras and things like that. And I remember, I don't want to shout out my dad too much, but like one of the really important things that he told me when selling, and which I've often tell other people when you're selling, is when somebody walks into your shop, you don't say, "Hi, can I help you?" Like that's the worst thing you can basically say, because that alienates somebody. And if anybody's watching and they just want to know just one tiny little bit of advice when selling, is you go up to them, and instead of saying, "Hi, can I help you?" you say, "This phone does blah 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 blah. It has a this and this and this is how it can benefit you. The price is normally this, but today it's this." And selling is really as simple as that. It's just, So anyway, that is my upbringing. And when the dot-com boom started in, say, 2000 something like that, with eBay and things like that, my dad was a little bit older school, so I started putting things online. And I remember a real turning point was we had these small televisions which had like 12-volt plugs, so you could plug them into your caravan or your car or things like that. And these TVs were, they retail for about 250. We had them, they're refurbished ones, so you take them back and then someone would test them and then we'd sell them. And anyway, I had them. We bought them for like 70 or something. I listed them on eBay for 120. And I remember I went for a walk to, whatever. 45 minutes later, I sold 5 of them. And it was just a real like, oh my gosh, because we would go to the market and we would carry these big TVs and we'd put them on the table, and hopefully the right person would walk in and it would rain and the stock would get damaged. And you just suddenly realized that everything changed with the internet, because all of a sudden you can reach anyone in the UK. You can find the customers, or they'll find you, because these people are looking for that specific product. And when you're at Wembley Market, you have like only a certain radius of people who are going to come. Maybe they don't want this, maybe they don't want that. And it changed my life. So I quickly realized that e-commerce was something which, was amazing. And so anyway, I built a company on that, which is a company I ran before, which is called Seeing is Buying. And my idea for that was to do videos for products. And I think you could still find them on YouTube. Anyway, I was a lot younger. And anyway, I'd just make a video and tell you all about this product, and we sell this on our website. And it went well, but the foundations of the business were bad because I couldn't buy enough of the stock that I needed. So if I made a video about a TV, I might only have 2 of those TVs in stock, and then I couldn't get any more. So it was like a lot of work, and then you only sell 2 TVs. So, but the idea of the business was okay. And kind of from that kind of came Fridja. So Fridja is a small home appliance brand. We specialize in like kitchen products and bedroom products. And our first product was a clothes steamer. So I didn't really, so basically I used to work in Topshop, which is a massive retail place in Oxford Circus. I worked there for like 3 or 4 years. I loved it when I was at university. And we used to use clothes steamers all the time. And I wanted to buy one for when I was at home, because I hated ironing, and, everybody hates ironing. But then I looked, and they were really, really expensive, and they were really, really ugly. There was a main brand in there, and they're fantastic, but they're like £500, and they take like a long time to heat up. They're not suitable for home. And so that gave me the idea, right, why don't you make them that kind of look like IMAX, or, like in different colors. So we launched like one product, which was the F1000, and it came in 6 different colors. And this was in 2010. And I was living in East London at the time. And a lot of my friends, it's funny, it's like, do you find the gold, or do you sell the spade that, you go to find the gold with, right? And all of my friends were in fashion, and they all wanted a clothes steamer. They had their own brands, or they had the shops, and they were all doing fashion stuff, but they didn't have like a clothes steamer. And I thought, right, okay, I could just give them to my friends. So I just gave them out to my friends. And back in 2010, all these people were like starting off, but now they're all like big established names. But back in the day, you got an email, or I used to actually just send a clothes steamer. I did this quite a few times. I'd take a clothes steamer, which is like the size of like a big box, and I put a bow on it, and I just send it to people. And, a clothes steamer turns up at your work in bright pink or bright blue with a bow on it saying, "With love from Fridja," right? That's like a friend for life. Like, they don't get that sort of thing every day. And it was just like, they get offered so many things all the time, but not clothes steamers. That's like a weird thing to be offered. So anyway, I got all of my friends using them, and we got some traction. So some of these stylists who are using them, they started using them on like popular shows. So they started getting used on X Factor, and other friends who are like showing at fashion shows. So lots of people were showing at Fashion Week in like, in the UK and around Europe. So we started to like feed in these clothes steamers into these shows and into these things. And because they were so recognizable, they started getting traction. I started selling them. And on the business side, we started selling them for like $69.99, went up to $79.99, went up to $99.99. So, we started to make a nice little product. And that's sort of how it started. And I can carry on. So if you want, I guess we could sort of fast forward a few years, and a major turning point, obviously, for anybody who doesn't know, I was on Dragon's Den. So in 2015, I was on Dragon's Den. So that's 5 years after we started. So we brought out a steamer. We'd also started a side company, which was like a sister company, which sold juicers. And the kind of everything didn't really like make sense. Like you've got a clothes steamer and you've got a juicer. Like you're like, what does this mean? Okay, we had these two brands, but anyway, we were selling a lot of juicers as well. So can't complain. And I went on to Dragon's Den, and Dragon's Den happened like I was late at night sitting in my flat with my wife, my then girlfriend, now wife. And I was watching some pitch on Dragon's Den, and I was thinking, this product's rubbish, right? Like, come on, this is crazy, right? Maybe I should just do it. And I also had like a bit of a weird side gig. So whilst I was doing all this online selling and everything, I was also studying to become a hypnotherapist. I studied psychology at university. I had a Bachelor of Science, and then I went and did a postgrad in hypnotherapy. So I like doing that, but I kind of thought that I might park that for later on in life. Anyway, I came up with this idea to sort of pitch to Dragon's Den as like this like mad hypnotherapist who was also selling clothes steamers. And I thought like, that's a story. That's weird, right? Okay, so I did that. And so I pitched to them, and honestly, within 2 weeks, they came back to me and said, like, yeah, we want you to do a screen test. So I went to White City and I did a screen test, like just a camcorder, and they filmed it, and they were like, yeah, that went fine. We'll get back to you. And like 4 days later, they said like, right, can you come to Manchester? We want to film it. So I went there, and I went with my wife, and I thought that when I actually filmed on the day that there'd be like 20 different people, and I thought that like I'd have to wait in a green room, and there'd be all these like mad inventors and whatever, and we'd all just sit there waiting our turn. But actually, when I got there, I was the only person being filmed that day. And it was like, oh, okay. And it didn't really hit me like how big it was until the doors opened. I mean, I know everyone says that, but like the doors opened, and I walked in and I looked up, and there was like 50 camera crew there. And then I saw all 5 of the dragons in real life. They're right in front of me. I could go and touch them. I could go and, touch their face if I wanted to. So, and I froze. Like I froze. Like I came out, I said, "Hi, dragons, I'm Ben." And then I just froze, and I was like, everybody's watching me. And also with Dragon's Den, there's no retakes. Like it's like you do it once, right? So I froze for like something bonkers, like 15 seconds, like a long time. Maybe it wasn't that long, but it felt like that long. And then, like I had that moment. I was just like, fuck it. Right. Say your pitch. Right. So I did it, and I pitched, and like, as soon as I did it, like it went okay. It went okay. Like, I don't know. On the day it went okay. And they were kind. And I tell you one thing is that I got an offer within like 8 minutes, something like that. Like basically Nick from Moonpig turned around and said, I really like this. I want to offer you all the money for something, whatever. And as soon as I got one offer, I was like, well, whatever happens today, I'm not going to walk away looking like a complete loser. Like I'm just going to walk, at least I have one offer that I can fall back on, like whatever. Because also the producer told me before we started, he said, make sure you get an offer. Not get an offer, just take an offer. Just do a deal, right? Do a deal. Don't walk away. You can sort out the details of the deal later. On TV, make the deal. So I was like, okay, fine. And he also gave me one other bit of advice, and might be interesting for you guys. So I was going to go in and ask for 100 grand because I was just like, 100 grand seems like a reasonable amount of money to ask for. And it was for something like, honestly, this was 10 years ago, but I think it was something for like 25% or 20%. And he said, listen, drop it, go down to 70 and ask for 15%, because there's something about 100 grand that like, no matter how rich you are, if somebody asks for 100 grand off of you, it's going to get you back up a little bit, right? But 70 grand, for like real rich people, like, I'll take a punt on it, And I was like, okay, fine. All right, I'll change it to 70 grand. So I'm really glad that I did that. Anyway, I got an offer, and the dragons on the actual day were really lovely. And I've seen dragons then 100 times. Sometimes they're in bad moods. Sometimes they don't like you. Sometimes, and I know that sometimes people rub them up the wrong way. They don't know their numbers. I'll tell you one other thing about the numbers is that, how many times have you guys seen Dragon's Den? And on Dragon's Den, They go, how much your number for year 1, year 2, year 3? What's your net profit? What's your cogs? Blah, 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 blah. And the people like, they don't know. Well, I just, when they asked me that, I went behind the steamers and I pulled out a file and I pulled out a printout. And I said, listen, guys, I'm not a parrot. Okay. I can't remember 5 years of numbers. Here are all the numbers. And also at the same time, I know you're going to want to know how much I pay for these things. I don't think it's appropriate for me to say how much I pay for them on like national TV. Here's how much I pay for them. You know, you're my business partners, right? We don't have to disclose this to everybody. So I gave them all a printout and they were fine. The BBC cut it out. They didn't show it. And a lot of people complain on the video that, oh, he didn't say his numbers. Like, we did talk about our numbers and the whole thing was like 2.5 hours long. So it was quite a long time, like 2.5 hours, but it went quickly. So anyway, I got that offer and then I got a couple of other offers and we did a deal. And that exposure, so it got shown, the TV show got shown after the final of Wimbledon, the men's final of Wimbledon in the middle of the summer. So it was like men's final Wimbledon, Dragon's Den, and it was the first show of the new series. Mm-hmm. So it was like brand new Dragon's Den coming, and they put me on first. So I was the first pitch on the first season of the first show, straight after the men's Wimbledon final. And of course, my website crashed. I mean, it didn't crash. Basically, when it got shown, we got an insane amount of traffic. Like, I've still got screenshots of like looking at Google Analytics, and like, you know, there's like 3 people on the website. Then all of a sudden there's 2,000 people on the website. Then all of a sudden there's 80,000 people on the website. Then all of a sudden there's like 400,000 people on the website. Right now, like my website, as most websites, like they cannot stand that traffic. Even though I prepared as much as I had, like I was in touch with my hosting company, TSO Host, shout out, they were really good. Like I spoke to them, we had like meetings about it because they knew that I was going to be on TV. But what we did during the show, so I brought a lot of my friends around, right? And I was like, right, you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, you're on our website, you're doing this, and everybody had like a job and a laptop, and like it was really, really cool. But these were my friends. This wasn't my like team. I didn't have a team of 20 people, you know. These were my friends, and everyone was replying to comments and stuff. And whilst we were just shortly afterwards, we changed it for a screenshot of me on Dragon's Den, like our main banner picture. And when we did that, something didn't like it. It was WordPress, and it didn't like it, and the site went down for like 10 minutes, but it's fine. It came back up, but it was really, really cool. And here's something I've also not told anyone. So I had a woman who was working for me full time, and like she was just being really, really unreliable, like super unreliable. And she kept on not turning up. And then I saw a few of her messages that she sent to customers, completely like not inappropriate, but just not to the standard that I was happy with. So she actually got fired. And this was like 4 days before Dragon's Den. So during Dragon's Den, I actually was completely alone. Like I was the only person working at the company. I had a wife. I still have the wife. So me and her, like on the night, I remember, like it was like if you're into e-commerce and this is your dream, like this is your dream. It was like holding Alt and R and refreshing, and every single time I was refreshing the back end page, another 3 orders, another 5 orders, another 5 orders, another 3 orders. So like, and this is like no order automation, nothing. We're like Control C with the postcode, Control V into DPD, like, you know, and we're like copying all the addresses. So like I stayed up until like 2 or 3 that night doing the labels on myself, like by myself. And it was just like a huge flood. And so basically the point of that Dragon's Den is the exposure that it gave us was so much that like like it was unbelievable. And the funny thing is, right, maybe some of you guys can relate to this, whoever's watching this, is if you tell somebody that you run a business, somebody goes, oh, that's nice, that's good, congratulations, you know, I hope good luck, and they don't really take you seriously. And then if you're on Dragon's Den, suddenly you're a real business. You know, I was a real business for 5 years. We had like profitable years every single year. We were growing. We had like different, you know, things. But when you're on Dragon's Den, all of a sudden, like your friends, your uncle, or you're somebody friends, everybody suddenly knows that you really do run a business, and it's real from then onwards. It's just bonkers. But Dragon's Den gave us such an elevation and such a validation that nothing else had. And we'd been in the Evening Standard, we'd been in the Daily Mail, the Daily Telegraph, the London Fashion Week, but all of these things like doesn't really matter, because Dragon's Den is like the most like it. I can even tell people who are not English in other countries. You know, if I tell like an American, they'll be like, oh yeah, I watched Dragon's Den. You know, like people know Dragon's Den. It's like an international thing. So, you know, so there's like, it was 100%. It was a risk, because we've all seen Dragon's Den ones that go awfully. And, you know, but luckily on the day, I was very lucky that it went well, and it was, yeah, it was fine. So yeah, and anyway, that's like only 5 years into the company. But yes.
Well, that's really 20 minutes. Nice story. I did not interrupt you anyway. So we went. I should be asking you quite a bit of other questions, but you went it all in one go. So but that was a useful thing. So I'm gonna just probably summarize this all. So the first idea was just like a long time ago. You started the company. The aha moment, it's when you sold this 2TV on eBay, etc. Like it was like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Then obviously, I think what you mentioned just now, I mean, back in time, it was innovative. So you were producing videos. Nowadays, everyone's saying, goes on YouTube, produce the content. You were doing this 20 years ago, again, and then you realize, okay, I want to scale it. I want to launch my own. And then you went through the friend. So I'm going to say, nowadays, I'm going to call it influencer marketing, you know? So eventually the same stuff that's popular right now in the marketing as a channel, you start introducing way back in time. And that's probably one of the reasons then you became more successful, because like it's out of the box thinking, which is now being a trend, you know, and people talking in the agency saying, oh, you should do this, you should do this. Back in time, it was just like your entrepreneurial background or your heart that just kind of, okay, I should do that. So, and obviously some technical mistakes, everyone have to have at least once when the website is down, Dragon Den effect, you know, of course, like, right. So that's amazing story, man. I have few things that I want to ask specifically about Dragon Den. So it's all fancy and nice. You went in, you've got some sales, and then investments. So as soon, like from, again, you might have a different experience, but from what I understand, as soon as you grab the money, it's not just the money, it's more the responsibilities of you reporting to someone else.
Yeah.
Tell the backstage of the Dark Horse of Dragon Den. It's like what happened after. As soon as you take the money, you give the percentage of the company. Like if you would be knowing what you know now, would you recommend to take this? I mean,
you know what this is, it's like you know, no two stories are the same, right? You try going to Levi Roots and telling him that like, oh, maybe you should have done it on your own, or some of these other people who have just scaled unbelievably and the dragons have unbelievably helped. My story's a little bit different. So I had a deal with Deborah and Nick from Moonpig, and it's one of those things where we did the deal, we shook hands, it was great, but it was like the middle of summer, right? So straight away, like they're on holiday. I was kind of on holiday, but I'm always working, you know, in this day and age with smartphones and stuff, like you're always working. But it was very, very slow. And then it got very bureaucratic. You know, there was due diligence from 2 separate dragons. They were asking me questions about this. They were asking me questions about that. And then basically a few things happened. And then we didn't actually end up having like a meeting until like 4 months later, which was a real like eye opener to me. And not only was it 4 months after we filmed, the actual show was very, very, very quickly put on TV. So we had the exposure. Like I didn't sign the deal and I didn't have them in my corner when the show was on TV. I was very much on my own. So I'd had the exposure. I'd been talking to buyers. I'd been doing everything else. I basically had all the fruits of Dragon's Den before we even had our first meeting. And it really made it very, very obvious that I was like, maybe this isn't such a good idea to do this deal. With having Deborah and Nick, it was a little bit like having a new mum and dad. You know, it was kind of strange. Like in the contract, you had to like approve all spends over like £10,000. You had to have board meetings. You had to do this. You had to do that. And it very quickly materialized that I wasn't actually going to be dealing with Deborah or Nick. You know, they are like incredibly busy people with many, many, many businesses. So you're not even talking to their assistant. You're talking to their assistant's assistant. And so all of a sudden, it didn't make very much sense for me to carry on with this deal. We also had like a slight issue with our accountant at the time. I don't really want to say too much, but we changed accountants a number of times. And something happened when I went with a friend of a friend, and there was a bit of an accounting error. And that was presented to the dragons, and the dragons didn't think that our accounts were in good order. And so that delayed things as well. And then we had to get a new accountant. And basically the whole thing, for want of a better term, ran out of steam. Like it really did. And it got on and on and on. And then we sort of just had I went to Manchester and we had this dinner and we had a bit of a heart to heart. And they sort of said, listen, like you've been on TV, you've got all this exposure, you've got all this marketing. Do you want to carry this on anymore? Like sometimes we don't know if this is definitely the right thing to carry on. You seem completely capable on your own and we want to support you. Like I still have their mobile numbers in my phone, but they just said like, is it worth it for you? And I sort of decided, no, it wasn't really worth it for me. So I didn't end up taking the money and I did walk away from the deal, which, you know, who knows what would have happened, but all I know is where I stand now, which is 10 years later. So I'll tell you something that happened straight after Dragon's Den. And one thing which they really highlighted. So Nick said to me on the show, you can see it on the show. He's like, you've got a juice company. You've got a steamer company. Like I go to an exhibition. What do I want? Do I want my shirt steamed or do I want to drink a juice on the same stand? Like it doesn't make sense. And he's right. And he was right. But the thing is, I didn't want to rock the boat with introducing a random juicer to a steamer on the same brand when essentially the juicer was a bit of an experiment. So just very quickly, we started bringing out slow juicers, masticating juicers. It's a completely different technology to the old style of juicer, which is a centrifugal juicer. You put it inside, you press a button, spinning grating blades, very hot friction. The fruit and the juice separates, blah, blah, blah. This is like a new type of technology, and it was like a new trend. So, and honestly, one of my suppliers said to me, like, honestly, Ben, we're selling lots of these. You should sell them. And that is why. And he's right. Like, you know, it was, even though I love the product, it wasn't like a passion, like, oh, wow, I love juices. It was like, people are selling these, like, I should sell them. And so anyway, I went through a period of trying to run 2 companies. So I've got the juicer company and I've got the steamer company and I've got the social media for the juicer company. I've got the artwork and I've got the emails for that. And I'm running 2 different companies. And then all of a sudden, if I want to do something else, I've got to open a 3rd company, 4th company. And to be fair, I think that this is how Wayfair started, right? So they did like cupboards.co.uk and drawers.co.uk or whatever, like that kind of work for them. But for me, my long-term vision, my goal, my like, okay, so this is my long-term vision, which is like very childish and like whatever, is as I kind of want to die an old man, and before I die, I want to see the Fridja logo on a skyscraper. Like that's kind of my dream. Like that's kind of what I always pictured, right? Like in kind of like a Blade Runner-y sort of like dystopian future, right? Like I see the Fridja logo on a big skyscraper. Like that's my dream. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but that is the North Star. And the point is that I want to emulate some of those hero brands that I see from when I grew up. So you got the top dogs like Philips and JVC, and then you've got like, you know, more like not everyday brands, but like more accessible brands that people buy. Like in the UK, people might remember things like Bush and Goodman's and Alba and Hitachi and all these other like brands that I was selling at the market. Like that's what I want. I want to be selling like a range of different products. And so I had to do like a painful shift from becoming the garment care company, which is essentially what like this like Steamery and ProPress, like these are like huge giants in my industry and the steamers. And I had to sort of turn my back on that and be like, I'm not going to be a pure garment care. I'm not going to be a pure fashion brand. I'm not going to be like selling to the fashionistas of this world and garment care. I'm going to sort of put that to one side and I'm going to say, no, we make cool home appliances. Okay. So we could make any different type of appliance. And we want to be like, you know, look up to the kings of this industry, like Ninja, you know, like we look up to those guys and we think like, how can we walk in their footsteps? You know, like my company is 15 years old. You know, where could I be after 40 years? Which is basically the shift which I saw. And that became very, very clear after Dragon's Den. So we had like a heightened popularity. We had a heightened, like, if I told somebody and they Googled us, all of a sudden there was lots of things that they could find out about us. And whenever I'm in any situation where I need to pull in some gravitas, I do name drop Dragon's Den. Because as soon as you, like, you know, if you tell somebody that you were on Dragon's Den, all of a sudden it does suddenly elevate your status and makes you seem legit. So yeah. So anyway, so I had to change from 2 companies into 1 company. So I started pulling in other products into the Fridja brand. And now when you go onto Fridja, you'll see like a range of different products. So currently we have 8. We're launching another further 3. And this is the way that I look to expand. And not only expand what you're selling, but expand where you're selling, which is the other part of this entrepreneurial journey. This 2 steps forward, 1 step back journey is that now we are selling in 3 distinct markets. So you have the UK, which is the main part of the business. You have the EU. So we have a warehouse in Hamburg in Germany. And now we have opened in the UAE in Dubai. And the UAE in Dubai is really exciting for lots of reasons. I'm not sure if you or the viewer of this, if you're even viewing, it's 33 minutes in. But if you've ever gone to Dubai before, it's like a whole new world. And when I first thought, oh, you know what, maybe we'll start selling in Dubai, I treated it like, oh, it's a new shipping zone. You know, I'll just add the shipping zone, Dubai, postage, £20. You go over there and you realize it is another planet, you know, and you cannot apply the same rules here. And they have like different people, different culture, different ways of doing things, just completely different. And that's great. And that's really exciting. So I spent a month in Dubai earlier this year because it takes a month to list a company. It takes a long time. You have to be there. You sign some documents. You wait 3 days. You sign some more documents. You wait 3 days. And like, again, so scrappy entrepreneur, if anybody's watching who's like, oh, you know, how does he do this? How does he do that? Well, you know what? I Google things, right? So I had to find a warehouse. I didn't know any warehouse people. I knew a few warehouses in the UK. I spoke to them. They said, oh, maybe you talk to this person, maybe you talk to that person. And a lot of roads end to nowhere. So you know what, to find a warehouse, you know what I did? I typed in warehouse UAE Dubai Google, and I took the first 20 listings and I called absolutely every single one of them, and I went to go and see about 10 different warehouses. I had one and he was like, yeah, definitely, you should definitely warehouse it, it'll be absolutely brilliant, you can warehouse here, no problem. I was like, brilliant, I'll come to you now. He's like, okay, no problem. I got there, it's filled with watermelons and potatoes. There's nothing wrong, obviously, with storing watermelons and potatoes, but you can't put like brand new e-commerce goods there. So like, you know, like I had to really find like the warehouse, I had to find accountants, I had to find everything, you know, like nothing applies here. The UK people, like only like 5% of the people know anything about what's going on over there. And so, you know, Dubai, but then at the same time, if you go to Dubai, you'll see Waitrose, you'll see Marks and Spencers, you'll see like all the huge brands, you'll see Virgin, like, you know, it's a well-trodden path. And the UAE is like a magical place where there's low crime and it's clean, and you know, and the taxes are friendly for people who are buying things. So maybe people have more money in their pocket. So, you know, and it's like, and also like just the base thing, it's a hot climate, right? Hot climate means that there's things growing, which means you can put things in juicers and you can put things in portable blenders. So I just thought that was a really exciting thing to try and do. And if you ask me how it's going, it's in progress. You know, it's in progress. Yeah, it's literally just begun. So we've sent the stock there now. The Shopify store is all active. And the customer service team, like, so I am a solo entrepreneur, but I still have a network and I work with people, because after 15 years and to build a business like this, you obviously cannot do everything yourself. You couldn't even do an interview like this yourself if you're doing everything, because I getting constant emails of like, where's my blender, you know, like that sort of thing. So you have to have a team. So anyway, I'm educating the team and everything like that. So, you know, it's a work in progress, but, you know, always push forward and all that.
That's a great, interesting story. So in terms of market of your products, right? Like let's be more practical right now. For this specific niche, what's your top marketing channels?
Yeah. Okay.
As of right now.
So something else that happened straight after Dragon's Den is I just got an email out of the blue, and it was from an awesome guy. And he was this Greek guy. Anyway, this Greek guy, he worked at a place called Amazon Vendor Central, right? Now, I'd never heard of Amazon Vendor Central, and obviously everybody's heard of Amazon. And there's two very different ways of selling on Amazon. There's Amazon Seller Central, which is where you join £25 a month, you list your products, you put it up, you do some advertising, you sell it, and you keep the margin, right? But Vendor Central is when Amazon wholesales from you. And Amazon Vendor Central, they said, he, again, from Dragon's Den, he's like, hey, I was watching Dragon's Den, I love your brand, I'd love to get you signed up on Amazon Vendor. And that was like a steep learning curve as well, because all of a sudden we signed up with Vendor Central and we had purchases orders coming, like just purchase order. They'd be like, send us 200 of this, send us 500 of this. And it was like, okay, fine. We're selling. And very quickly, our Amazon business maybe like quadrupled with Vendor Central. And it was a very powerful tool. So that part of the business really grew the business. And it was around then, was during COVID time, right? Everyone's at home. Everyone kind of has money, right? No one's spending any money. No one's doing anything. And also there's this epidemic going on, right? Everyone's like, how can I be healthy? How can I how can I make my body the best it can be? So everyone was like keeping fit, lifting weights, and, you know, going out and exercising daily. And one of the byproducts of this was that everyone was buying juicers. And it was lucky that our juicer was the one that kind of like rode the wave incredibly. And so we went from like this to like this very quickly, and it was really with this one product, which was like a masticating juicer. It's a great juicer. You know, you can't sell lots of a product if it isn't a great product. Like, people got it, and that is the one thing about in my business, which is like, if you could bottle it and sell it, is can you find a product that people take out of the box and they instantly like and they want to keep? Because that really is like the most, that's the hardest thing, really. Anyway, so we were selling lots and lots of this juicer, and to come back to your question, is that practically speaking, now we sell around 60 to 70% of our stuff through Amazon, because everybody loves Amazon, right? It's just like, Amazon gets obviously a lot more traction than our Shopify store. Obviously, the margins aren't as good, and there are other problems with Amazon. It's much nicer to have a direct relationship with your customer, and to through Shopify and Klaviyo and like, you know, videos, social media, that sort of thing. This direct relationship with your customer is so much better. But yes, Amazon, like, if you can ride on their wings, it's much better. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
In terms of technology, you just said Shopify, Klaviyo. Any other tools that you are using on day by day?
Yeah, so we use like your bread and butter ones. Xero for accounting. We Gmail for email. I don't use Slack or anything like that. I've given it a go, but the way that my business, and maybe like, you know, what's different about my business to other people's business, is that I have like a few key people who are like constant people who work for me, but the majority of people that work for me work as and when. So like, I have an amazing graphics guy, but I don't have enough work that I can give him 9 to 5 5 days a week. And I have an amazing web developer, but again, he has other clients, and pretty much all of my people, like, I have a relationship with. And I try to get people together, but often things change. Like, people come, people go. Like, sometimes like their skill set isn't right, and I find somebody else, and that sort of thing. So there is like this like weird nucleus where I am in the middle and I speak to everybody. So something like, you know, so actually what I use to talk to my team is Telegram, which like is bonkers, but it's because I could use WhatsApp, and we did use that a lot. But a lot of the time, WhatsApp is quite personal, and I've got other friends and stuff. And if I want to just speak to work people, I try to like minimize WhatsApp and just use Telegram to speak to just my team. And we have certain groups and stuff like that. And Telegram works amazing. And as far as like other technologies I use, you know, there's quite a few subscriptions that I am with Shopify. So I'm a big fan of Looks. I just started using Looks, which is like a review platform. They just show, like, they incentivize people to take photos and videos of your product when they're reviewing it, and that can feed more discount for next purchases. And also it looks fantastic on our website, that sort of thing. So yeah, pretty normal stuff that I use.
I mean, the reason why I'm asking is just like, if someone want to start his own brand as a solo entrepreneur, right? At least they have some tools in mind that you use. Them guys, check this out. Check, like, Google those tools, and obviously, any questions you can always ask. So, what would you like? You're part of the e-commerce camp network, I would say, right? Like, you come in
I really
almost
love
every
the
single. Yeah,
really
you
good.
almost coming. You almost coming to every single event, right? So for everyone who's watching, Ben is not the client of our agency, but he's a really friend of the e-commerce camp, and I'm proud that I'm in his WhatsApp. Means I'm.
You're a friend.
I'm on the friend level. So just you know, what would you believe in the, like, again, maybe a little bit to the e-commerce camp, how a new person who just want to, like, let's say I'm working for someone, but I have a dream. I want to start my own things, right? Like, I want to start my own e-commerce website. What will be the the best possible advice, or like top key, whenever top 3, top 5 advice, what you would say to someone who just came to e-commerce camp UK event, and then it's gonna ask you, hey, I like what you did this. You did this solo. It's a nice journey. We just watched this out. What should I do?
So, okay, firstly, I just want to say a shout out to e-commerce camp, because as you might have gathered, I spend a lot of time like on my own. And when you run a company, there is no peers. You're not like in a department where you can talk to somebody else. And business owners don't tend to talk to other business owners often, because it's like a weird thing. Like, how do you talk to a business owner? Like, you don't get, you know, I go to like a party or a dinner party. I mean, I'm old now, so I don't go to too many parties. But if I go to a party, like there's like a guy who works for like, I don't know, the British Library, and there's another guy who works as a teacher. And like, you know, you speak to all these different people, and that's awesome, but you don't really speak. It's quite a niche that we're in, right? We like run e-commerce companies, right? So when I joined e-commerce camp and I found like 40, 60, like 80 people who were just like me, we had the same daily issues, the same obstacles, the same like it's honestly, it's like gold dust, right? Because like, okay, boring things, payment gateway issues, chargebacks, what bank do you use, what are you doing about I don't know, tariffs and freight companies and foreign exchange. There's so many things which are niche specific. But we had a dinner the other week, and I'm talking to this guy, Paul, and this guy basically runs the same business as me, but he sells sofa covers, right? Like, we are not in a competing industry. Like, his success is my success, you know? He says, hey, Ben, I tried this on my website and it got like a 20% increase in blah, blah, blah. Right? I'm like, wow, Paul, that's amazing. I'm going to try this. Hey, you should try this. Or, oh, you know what? I've got this guy. You should use him. He's amazing, right? So to have that network is honestly, it's gold dust. So I do thank you very, very much, Paul. And as far as what to start a company, what advice would I give to a company? Well, weirdly enough, my wife, she has started a similar company, right? And and I have to constantly remind her, I'm 15 years in. You've just started your company. Slow down. It's going to be okay. So her company is called Classette. So a bit of a shout out there. She does school hair clips for girls. So they're girls' hair clips, which are in school colors specifically. So it's red, green, and navy. And you can wear them to school. And the idea is to send your child to school with a smile on their face, right? You give them like hair clips in the morning and they're all smiling and they're up for school, right? It's like it's a low cost like product, like under 20 quid, you know. And anyway, so she's starting on her journey. And what did she do? She had a vision, right? Okay, she looked at the other stuff out there. She found a problem, or like not a problem. She saw like, how can I make my children more happy before they go to school? What's a universal problem? You've got schoolgirls up and down the country, right? How can I make them happier every time they go to school, right? Because the morning, as all parents know, the mornings are a shit show, right? They're awful. They're just like screaming and where's your shoes and brush your hair? Did you brush your teeth? Like la 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 la. If you can bring that happiness. So the point is, she had to start from the ground up. So we're talking Shopify, we're talking email marketing, we're talking Google Merchant Center, Amazon, brand registry, even copyright. To get the A+ content onto Amazon, you have to get a copyright from HMRC. There's fundamental things which you have to do. Like I'm trying to like say how important it is for email marketing, and how I'll hold my hands up. I know I didn't do email marketing for the first 12, 13 years of the business. Like, that's bonkers, right? To not do it for so long. But not for a start, forget about ads. If you're just starting a company, like you want to go and shout on the rooftops and you want to go and tell people and you want to go and like get people excited, do things in real life. Do not go straight to Google and start paying them money and Facebook. I mean, like, the first thing you need to do is you need to get people excited and give them and take photos and blogs and social media and get a buzz about things. Don't give your money all to Google and Facebook. They will take enough of it later on. But the email marketing, right? You're getting people to your website. They're looking at it, right? To get them all the way there and then not email them afterwards is like sacrilege. So you have to have your email welcome flow in point. You have to have your abandoned cart and your browse abandonment and your site abandonment flows already. You have to have everything there because people are busy, right? People are busy and they think, oh, that's a nice hair clip. That's a nice steamer. That's a nice juicer. And then, something happens and then they go and they do something and what is that? 7 touch points before you sell something. You have to stay top of mind. And email marketing is a very low cost way of doing it. Anyone can start with drag and drop. There are tons of YouTube videos and stuff like that. Just get all your flows sorted because by the time you get somebody to your website and they're looking at your product, like that is like 90% of the sale. You just got to push them over the edge, even a little cheeky coupon. So all the fundamentals and the basics. But I guess that if I wanted to say one thing is that don't be too much in the computer, right? Like it's so easy to be like, I'm going to go and do some work. I'm going to be in the computer. But that's another good thing about e-commerce camp and doing real life events, right? Like getting your product out there and talking in real life to real people. Get off the computer. It's not all on the phone. It's not all the thing. But then saying that, maybe I'm an old donkey and maybe you can do one reel on Instagram, on TikTok, and it goes viral and you reach a lot more people. But it's very easy to just say, I'm going to go do some deep work and just stay on the computer the whole time. If you've got a business, you need to shout about it and you really need to wear it on your sleeve and you need to like love and want to do your business. Running a business is hard because 9 to 5 or whatever. I know that actually I don't know because I've not had too many 9 to 5s, but I imagine on a lot of jobs you clock off at 5 o'clock and then you can start thinking about other things. But when you run a business, that lives inside your head 24/7 and you have to remind yourself to like be present because like especially when business is tough. When business is tough, it's hard to think about anything else. I say to my children every day, there's only one rule of business is make more money than you're spending. Like that is the fundamentals of business. And if you're not doing that, then it's all just a vanity affair, right? So, but that's what my father taught me, like my foreign immigrant father. That's what he taught me. Like constantly spend less, make more. So yeah, that's my advice to anyone who wants to start with a business. Remember to do those things.
That's a basic, but fundamental things absolutely for everyone.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
Man, I really appreciate your time. You finding this time for this talk. I really enjoy listening this entire story. I think it was really useful, especially from motivational standpoint. I think your story is something like, again, respect to your parents who grew up you as a hustler, which is again, and I appreciate that you keep doing this. I'm really want to have another chat as soon as you have more insight about the Dubai, etc. So potentially this could be a good talk for our e-commerce camp talks and one of our events. For everyone who's listening, e-commerce camp co-UK, there will be in Manchester, September 26th, the event that we will have. Hopefully we will make it. We'll see. We basically looking forward to welcome other guests pretty soon. So guys, thank you very much for watching this. Ben, appreciate your time as well.
Thank you, Paul.
Good luck, man, with everything, and I will be watching you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much. I'll see you on WhatsApp.
Take care, buddy. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.